An angry Karen tries to steal my waffles. This happened a few years ago. There was this one sunny Sunday, and I was in a particularly good mood. I was walking around my new neighborhood. All of the houses were built at the same time, and about 50 families moved in and got settled in the last few months back then. People were still getting to know each other. I noticed a bunch of Girl Scouts going door to door with homemade waffles. As I walked past them, they approached me and tried to get me to buy some waffles. I told them to follow me back to my house, as I didn't bring money on my walk. While walking, we spoke a little, and it turned out that their sale had been underwhelming. I decided to buy all of their waffles. I was handed out easily over 100 waffles. If I remember correctly, I spent about 60 to 70 euros. They ran off extremely happy. I figured I'd open up my garage, pop up a small plastic table I keep in my garden shed, and plug in my waffle iron to heat up the waffles. I filled bowls with all kinds of sugar and placed a few syrups next to it. Next, I invited all the new neighbors over to my driveway for a free waffle by texting our Facebook group. Sure enough, a couple of families were keen and a small crowd gathered. It was all fun and games. People got to know each other, we had some wonderful warm waffles, and we even got to make some fun waffles with some killer toppings on them. After some time, a frowning lady, who for some reason appeared to be in quite a hurry, made her way through my neighbors and approached me. I hadn't seen her before. She asked what all this was and why it was happening. I told her the entire story and that it was based on a whim. I don't know how to describe her that would do her character justice, but she was very in your face, way too intense. "So they're free?" she asked. "Well, yeah," I told her. I told her again I meant to bring the neighbors together, but that I'd happily provide her with a gloriously topped waffle too. She said no, none of that, and said she'd have a bag. She wanted no less than 20 waffles. Now, I'm usually not one for confrontation, and I was already deciding to comply, but then I realized I don't owe her anything, and backed up by the frowns of my neighbors, I told the lady that that definitely was not what I had in mind when I bought the waffles. I told her I was happy to prepare her one or two, but I wasn't going to hand them out in large numbers to a complete stranger. She then raised her volume and got offended. She yelled at me what my deal was and why she was the only one denied waffles. Thankfully, the neighbor stepped in. I said that everything here had good intentions and even apologized for taking her chance to buy waffles from the Girl Scouts. I offered her to buy some off me if she wanted them that bad, as I still had plenty, but she was adamant on getting them for free. "No way. Everyone got theirs for free. I won't be the only one paying." Something like that. Multiple attempts were made to reason with her and to make her see the intention of our events. All of this was to no avail. My neighbors eventually isolated her from the group, and after some continuous blabbering from her to a poor guy who hadn't even said a word, she stormed off. It kind of ruined the mood, but I decided to let it pass. Other families were still coming in, and the situation quickly became a bonding moment. Most were surprised hearing about it. Some already knew her and were less surprised. About 45 minutes to an hour later, two unknown, very friendly kids showed up and ate some waffles. Most people had left by then, and I was just having drinks with some of the guys who stuck around. I had a few waffles left, and the kids asked if they could bring some home. So I said, well, yeah, why not? Happy faces ran off with a few waffles towards a lady in the distance. Yep, it was the angry Karen. And yeah, those were her kids. She flipped me off in front of her kids, yelled something which I didn't understand, and they walked off in the distance. We had to process that for a while. Meanwhile, the angry Karen is quite infamous around our neighborhood. She lives a few streets further. She's employed as a caregiver in a retirement home, and she's an absolute terror. She dumps her trash in other people's bins so she doesn't have to pay as much for her garbage. She blocks driveways. On several cases, she's been reported as a package thief. She calls the cops on anything, has been seen to abuse neighborhood cats. The list goes on. Her kids are super sweet though, which was remarkable. I luckily haven't seen her much ever since the waffle incident. This Karen is absolutely insane. She rolls up in there in an impromptu event and tries to steal all of the waffles. This is like a really bad Batman villain. I mean, who walks up there and says, "I want 20 waffles"? Like, can she not read the room? I'm very happy that the original poster did not cave to this crazy Karen's demands, but it's especially disgusting that she got her kids to do her dirty work for her. Overall, it sounds like this guy has a weird, crazy Karen neighbor, and hopefully she never shows her ugly face around his parts ever again.
The full version of this story is on the Am I the Jerk YouTube channel, and there's a link to that down below in the description. And if there are any updates to this story, they'll be there in the same link. I'm sure by now a lot of you guys realize that a ton of these stories are actually submitted by you, the person listening. And there's no special requirement to submit a story. You yourself could submit a story right now if you wanted to. It can be completely anonymous. In fact, that's encouraged. And that way you can freely and openly share the most juicy secrets of your entire life if you want to. So how do you do it? Just go to AmITheJerk.com/submit. Make sure you read the rules before posting, but that's it. You just go to AmITheJerk.com/submit, read the rules, and post your story. Then you can check back on future videos to see if your story made it or not.